Hey everyone, this is Shakwesha Satawi, Voices from Wise Women. Today we have multi-generational household. So my family is going to be with us today. So, before we get started, I always like to make sure everybody goes to Earth Mama Network, share, like, put on your notifications so you know when we're going to be on. And during the week, we have a lot of different shows that are on Earth Mama Network. So before we start, you know that I always sage my room, do my spray. I'm hearing the echoing. I don't know where that's coming from. And so I, like I said, sage my room, lavender, and have my blue candle for communication that's been lit. So we always do a not three. I wish. We're going to be doing a 30-second meditation. And so we do the 30-second meditation to bring ourselves into the room so everyone can be. So we can do our 30-second meditation. Take a breathe in, breathe out, 30 seconds. Here we go. All right. We are ready to go. So, I always pull a card. Today it says, I express my creativity. So today, express my creativity. My unique and creative talents and abilities flow through me and are expressed in a deeply satisfying way. My creativity is always in demand. So creativity. Let me take a little drink here to get it going. Wetting my whistle. So let's talk about 3 generations today. We do a multi-generational household. Between 2000 and 2016, the number of multi-generational households increased by a remarkable 21.6 million, increasing from 42.6 million in 2006 to 64 million in 2016. Today, 1 in 5 American households are multi-generational. The most likely groups to live in multi-generational households are Asian, 25.8% in 2009, Blacks 23.7%, and Latinos 23.4%. So there's a lot of people that are living in multi-generational households. We lived in a 4 generation at one time. Now I'm living in a 3. The girls are living in their own. And so first I'm going to introduce my daughter, who's Stephanie. So Stephanie, introduce yourself.
Oh, I am Stephanie Holmes, daughter to Shakwesha and mother to India and Kamali, aka Kaz.
All right. And India, introduce yourself.
I'm India. I am the eldest of the 2 children, aka the one responsible for apparently Kaz.
And Kamali, introduce yourself.
I prefer Kaz as shorting of my middle name. I'm the youngest.
All right. I will not call you Kaz. I call you Kamali, so that's just the way it is.
So do I.
Moving right along. Yes. So my mother, who's not with us today, who's not with us in the room, she is here. She has Alzheimer's, but she's from the 4, so it's 4 generations of us that are alive. So my mother's generation is called the traditionist. That's what's traditionalists, or the silent generation, which I don't understand because they did a lot in her generation. Mine, I'm the baby boomer. which is, so my mother's a traditional, so that's from 1945 and before are the traditionalists. The baby boomers, which are me, 1946 to 1964. Stephanie is Generation X, born between 1965 to 1976. India and Kamali are millennials or Generation Y, born between 1977 to 1995. So they're part of the millennial group. So India and Kamali, I don't know,
India's disappeared.
But people come back and forth in between that. Sometimes that happens with the phones. So how did it feel, Kamali, to live in a multi-generational household where there were 4 generations when you were coming up? How did that feel as a child? Multi-generational, you're talking about that. How does that feel?
Crowded.
I won't say. Well,
Crowded? We had a big house we lived in when Nana's house.
Hmm.
It was a big house we lived in.
Yeah, well,
How did you like India living in a multi-generational household? How was that as a kid?
as a kid, like a kid, like I'd say from about kindergarten to about maybe like 5th grade, it was awesome.
Uh-huh.
You know, you got everybody there to help you with stuff. When you're doing history projects, you can get the history from each of the people that's in there.
Right.
But once I hit about teenage years, then I'd say it started to aggravate me a little bit, only because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And then I got, 3 different generations telling me no and why I shouldn't, which
Right.
isn't what you want to hear, but it doesn't mean that it's not right.
Right. Exactly. All right. So Stephanie, how did you feel?
It was great. I had a lot of help with India and Kamali. Having 2 kids as a single mom, and they were like, they're only 17 months apart. So everything that they did was back to back. So the terrible twos like crossed over. So it was a lot of that going on. So it was good to have not only my grandmother, but my mom there and to like help me with some stuff. Because some stuff you just don't know. So a lot of times I had to pick up the phone. I could just walk to the next room. So that was helpful.
Right. Right. So let me tell you, India and Kamali. So was there one generation that you felt close to more than another generation?
Well, everybody knows I'm my grandmother's baby.
Oh,
I always the one I'm the closest to. Yes, mom is right up under it, but you're my balance because you share a lot of things with me. You're the oldest of your siblings. I'm the oldest.
right.
So like you understand when I'm going through stuff and like maybe mom's not necessarily listening to me, I can go and talk to you about it. And I know you'll understand and you'll feed me from both perspectives.
Right.
So you're kind of my guiding light in that.
Right. So Pam just chimed in and said, hey, Pam, hey, Mercedes.
Hi, Pam, Mercedes.
Jamila, yep, all of them, yay. So there was a lot of help. So Kamali, did you feel closer to one generation more than another?
Not particularly. I feel like I kind of went to both of you.
Okay.
You are Nana's baby. Don't even try it.
Oh yeah, Nana really.
Oh yeah,
is close to Kamali.
still.
Sit in there and have the old lady conversations, and only one of them was an old lady.
Yeah.
You used to watch Murder, She Wrote with her.
Exactly.
Right.
We still watch that right now. It's on Prime, and I watch it in rerun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. You all did a lot of things together because he kind of helped raise Michael Kamali was younger at that time. So, would you say, Kamali? I'm sorry.
So she always had snacks in her room, so I was always in there anyway.
Oh my gosh, she's so my child because I always knew her Nana snacks.
Yeah, we all used to find her hiding spots like in a hot second. They're the worst one. She used to think they were good, but they were terrible.
She thought she was hiding them. She never hid. I mean, they were just not hidden enough for us.
Because we knew
Right. So someone asked, how did men factor into your family with all the women?
barely.
I'm afraid so. Yeah. I mean, but you had your uncles, which are my uncles. Yeah. So that was the male factor that came in. I also had my grandfather, which unfortunately you two weren't privy to him. He was,
I just missed.
Yeah, you just missed him. He died right before you were born. But I had him as well as my uncle. But I think my uncles did a really good job in terms of being that male influence. Well, you can speak for it to yourself. I think they did a good job in terms of being there when you guys had like questions that like dudes could answer.
Yeah,
Like,
there are three uncles.
Ooh, that was interesting.
What you say?
I mean, we have Baba.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Somewhat had he began the roller skating thing in the basement. It didn't quite catch till we went to the roller rink with Bob when we were like, maybe 8. And he just kind of like was like, we're gonna go roller skating. We was like, okay, thinking we're gonna go during the day. No, we did not. We went, I think you all were out of town. We went at night. It was a bunch of teenagers, and he was just kind of like, here's the skates. Go forth and prosper, my child. And I was like, wait, maybe.
He was definitely trial by fire.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot, and we can do a lot now.
Right. And I think part of it too is men think they nurture differently than women. So men are just like, here it is, here we go, let's do it. Women be like, okay.
Hello, Kamali on a bicycle in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's your money. Your cousin Paris did the same thing to you.
Okay?
Right.
She was 23. No.
So I think the male roles. And I was going to ask you about that because I know you used to spend your summers with me in North Carolina, and at that time I was married, and so Baba did a lot of things with you when I was at work or working at the health center where I worked, and so you all learned tumbling. Well, first of all, in North Carolina, great place to raise children. They have so much there, so you learned how to golf. You did tumbling. You did skating, you did bowling, you did plays, you sang. It was all kind of activities that you all participate. So did you enjoy your mother bringing you to North Carolina as soon as you got out of school and you stayed the whole summer and you didn't go back until it was time to go back to school?
At the time, no.
The first summer, I was not here for this. Like, I'm like, why are we going down here? And what do you mean you not coming? What?
Right.
We just gonna be down here, and it's in the middle of where? So then we get down there and we're driving down this road, which we got there at night. So driving down this road, there's no lights on this road. It's just the headlights. It looks like Jurassic Park. So as 8-year-old India, I'm like, oh, this will never do. I don't know what y'all think this is, but India's not a country girl. She's been in the city her whole life. Why would you all do this to me? But then we got down there, and you were working at the health center at that time, so we were swimming every day. We knew everybody there. They all knew us. Then he put us in gymnastics. So on top of going, when we're not at the health center with you, we're in gymnastics. We're doing golf clubs. Like, it's all different types of stuff that we're doing. It was pretty cool. Then when we eventually moved down there, then we had, we're in plays and stuff. And like, just North Carolina is a pretty awesome place. If you're going to raise like kids now to a certain degree.
Right.
Because I will say those are probably some of the first tastes that I had of racism too.
Okay.
Because you're a little kid and you're the only little black girl in there with all the white kids. So, necessarily not all the kids are nice to you, and it's something that I've learned that during that play that we did. It was Alice in Wonderland. And I was friends with these girls, and one of their mom or somebody had said something, oh, she's a nice little colored girl. And it didn't click immediately. But after I was like, she just called me colored.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But I mean, as like a 10-year-old, you don't really think that much of it. You're like, all right, I guess you don't know how to say black, or maybe you didn't quite grasp what color I was. Fine, whatever.
Right. You guys, make sure you guys don't have anything running in the background, because I hear some noise and I'm not sure where that's coming from. Let me just make sure that's not me running something.
No TVs or anything?
I'm sitting outside.
Oh, I hear feedback. That's what it is.
Okay, maybe just feedback. I don't know. Well, I know that you all were also rooted in your cultural base because you went to Betty Shabazz school in Chicago, which
not even Betty.
first I know you were homeschooled. You did a lot of homeschooling when you were little, and then you went to Betty Shabazz. Your homeschooling was your Aunt Cora, your great
Aunt
Cora did that, and then you went to homeschooling.
Where do you say
I
it?
would say that's. I don't think that's where that really comes from for me, at least. Not as much. Most of it is you.
Oh, okay.
You've always been deep. Well, that goes back to you being my balance. You've always been very deeply rooted within the community. So I've always, kind of had I would say my ear to the ground on the hustle. You've always, since I was a little kid, said we were the 1% shifting the 99, and that stuck with me. So there's certain things I carry myself a certain way. And if I have children, I would want them raised a certain way because I was raised that way. And those are the not rituals, but traditions, I guess, I would like to pass on. I would want to make sure any child that I had, no matter what race they were, the vast majority of it is going to be Black. So I need you to know who you are and know what it is that we deal with, where we come from, what we are, and what we've grown to be, so that you fully understand and know how to carry yourself.
And to me, that was very important. And I think part of that comes from my mother also trying to raise us in our cultural base as well. And then I tried to do my daughter the same way, and then made sure that my granddaughters had that same way. It says, ask your mom to talk about her intergenerational upbringing influence her values. Yeah. So I think my family was like that. They were all very close to each other. My mom, took us to the library, and we learned all about Phyllis Wheatley and all the things that she knew in terms of being Black. And so it just kind of set me in that pace that I wanted to have to make sure that my daughter and my granddaughter also were set in that culture. Because I think if you're set in your cultural base, then you can go anywhere else in the world and be whatever. Even though you are also Mexican, you still are very clear that you are African American and you are African. And so that was very important to understand. Yes, you do have that Mexican side, but also African, as well. Because when people see you, they think here comes two Black girls. They don't think, oh, here comes two Latinos, So it's important to me to make sure that you understand that. So now that you all are on your own, you two of you live together in Florida. Do you miss the camaraderie of the 4 generations when we really used to hang together? Do you miss it?
Yes.
Oh, you missed it? How?
FaceTime you all the time. You fuss at me for it, but this is why we FaceTime you all the time. Because that little bit that we're missing. If we have it, I think it freaks our friends out sometimes when we completely show that completely side where we're clicking back and forth, and we're back and forth between conversations and goofing off the wall because they don't quite know how to deal with it, because we don't show that to everybody.
Okay.
But it's always been, I don't know, we're extremely close. So anything that I go through, somebody gonna be talking trash about something. Right. That is inevitable. 9 times out of 10, it's Kamali. Somebody's gonna be the level-headed one, which may be Muti or maybe a mom, depending on the situation.
Right.
And then the part of it where I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see something that's funny, and I know I can send it to the two of you, and you all will get a good chuckle out of it too.
Right. So that's good. Kamali, do you miss any of us, or no? Kamali's kind of private, so I don't know. Do you miss the generations, Kamali?
I mean, I talk to you guys every day, so it's pretty much the same.
You talk to us, but I don't know if it's something that you do call us up. So I will say that you do call us up, and you always say you're checking on the old people. So sometime when you don't hear from us, you call and check on the old people to make sure that we're all okay. So I do appreciate checking on the old people, because right. So listen, when you guys were coming up, hey, Mo is on there.
Hi, Mo.
when we were coming up, we used to have little rituals we used to do. And I remember when you got 13 or you start having your cycle, we would have people over, and same thing with your mother, have people over, and we would celebrate, and we would talk about, having a cycle and what was that like, what the cycle was about and what have you. How did you all feel when we had those kind of ceremonies?
Hated those. They were so awkward.
You all meant well. I think the one that I remember the
They
most.
did.
and
They
the one
meant
that-
well, but it was so not needed.
Yeah, it was.
No, the one I appreciate was right before I went to high school. I was freaked out. Like, 'cause I didn't know what to expect. So, because like there was a big enough gap where there was nobody really like two
Right.
steps ahead of me for me to be like, hey. So everybody was like 2 steps, maybe 3 steps, step and a half. So that helped a lot for me. It calmed me because like it was everybody one giving their own experience of high school. Then you had hi Franklin. Then you had like people's nieces and stuff that weren't too much older than me, and they were like, "Oh, you'll be fine. It's not that bad. It's really just another day." And I was like, "Okay, that makes me feel better."
Right.
And it kind of gave me the confidence that I needed to know that I would be okay, even though I was going where I thought was going to be completely different with nobody that I went to elementary school with. Even though when I did get there, I had at least 2 people that I went to elementary school with in my high school. I
Right.
had Arlene, somebody else. I forgot who else I had. But we had come from the same middle school, so it made it a little bit easier.
Right. And for me, I always like to have those demarcations when people do go to a next phase. And what I wanted you and your sister to know, that if you couldn't come to us, there were other women in the community that I trusted, that you can go to them, and that those women would give you good counsel, as well as your mother and I. I think when Stephanie started her cycle, we had a circle of women I brought together for her. And I told her that if she didn't want to come to me, that I trusted these women in the circle, and that these women could come, you could come to these women and they would assist you in whatever was going on. And I also told the women that if she comes to you and she asks you for whatever it is, please assist her. And if there's any money involved, I will give you the money back, and I will never ask you what the money was for, because I wanted her to know that she could trust these women if she didn't feel that she could come to me. And I think that that's important for young women to know, that sometimes maybe you don't want to go to your mother for whatever it is, but that there are women in your community that you can go to, that you trust, that would help you. Like, Mo was there. Mo was always around. We were in LA, and those are the kind of women that I wanted you to know were women that I had faith in, and Stephanie and I had faith in, that we knew that they wouldn't give you the wrong counsel if there was something that you needed. So I just think that that's an important ceremony to have for young girls when they when they go toward their cycle, or when they start to high school, or whatever it is that they're going. And I think when India got ready to go to college, I think we had one before you went to college. Did we do one before you went to college?
No.
Technically, it was more like a going away party.
Right.
But I thought we did one for, I think we did one.
No, a
because
lot of people, what we did for India when she went to college was at one of her birthdays, where people wrote different notes for her, and then she kept them in a box.
I still have those notes. I actually have some of them pinned up over my bed.
Right. And so what we did was we created this box, and so women could write messages for India. And so if any time in her life when she felt like she didn't feel confident or whatever was going on, she could pull these messages out from these women that had written these messages for her. And I think that's just important, because sometimes we get into those experiences where you just think like, oh my God, am I going to get this? Am I going to be okay? And then when you have this, we'll be able to pull this out and says, you're going to be fine. We're here to support you. All those kind of things kind of empower you. And I think that's what we try to do when we have these generations together. Because I think in our family, we've always been supportive of each other. And sometimes we don't like it. And sometimes we get pissed off at each other. But we still know that the person has the best intentions for us. And then sometimes we have to decide for ourselves, because we all have our own journeys. But sometimes we can see, as mothers or generations before you, we can see where you're going. Oh, Omar. Hey, Omar and Naila. How you doing? So let me ask you, what is your best story that you can have from one of the generations? What's one of the best stories or a memory that you had that you really like?
There's so many in the Naked City. It's hard to pick out one.
Right?
Everything we do is an adventure.
God.
But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you and Marie White sitting at the table on like holiday
Speak up,
breaks,
India. Speak up a little louder.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, India.
that would be because India's hands up of her mic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I said some of the best ones are you and Marie White talking about when y'all was in high school and young over Christmas breaks and holiday breaks. Those
Oh.
are always fun.
Oh, okay. No. Holidays were always the best, especially when we all got together and played games. We still laugh, Kamali, about you when you were asked the names of two people in the Bible and you said Cleophas and Cleo.
No, it was Cletus and
I knew
Cleo.
then
Thank you
you
very
were my
much.
heathen child. So yeah, something like that is always the best. Huh? What did you say, India?
Oh, I said that was so sad.
Oh, yeah. So,
I know
Kamali,
nothing of the
Kamali,
Bible.
what is one of your favorite stories?
Oh,
I know you
it's
told me
hard
about-
when it's like on the spot. It's hard to think of them when you ask. Like
Okay.
any other time, I can pull some up, but right now because you asked, I'm like,
No,
I
you
don't
told me about the one that we did the Harry Potter book. You told me about that one. That
oh,
you-
when you took us when we were in North Carolina, or when you read to us, which one?
when we read to us, when we had the book, we were reading chapters, or not reading chapters, we were reading a page a piece, because you all were just starting to read, and how you really liked that I read a page, and then your sister read a page, and you read a page, and you end up reading the entire book during the summer. But I thought that was really good because you all are avid readers. I mean, you guys read unbelievably, and you're also good writers just from reading. So I think that's important that people know that. In fact, people would come into our house and be like, "It's silent. Why is it silent?" I was like, "Because everybody's in the room." Even when Nana was there, 4 generations, we would all be reading. And so I think when children come from a home where they see their mother and father and grandmother reading, that they too start to read. And then
Hey, Diamond.
they all read. Hey, Diamond. Diamond was one of India's friends, Kamora, which took me a while to realize Kamora is Diamond.
It's the same person.
Same person, yeah.
One and the same, yes.
When I got that, I was like, "Oh my God, that's okay." Now I understand, right? So, let's see. Oh, so one of the things that I really felt bad about was the fact that we were homeless like for a week or so, and that whole experience. Now, I feel bad about it because I said, "Oh, you guys went through that." But when I look back on it and we get together, we laugh about it because it was really a crazy thing. Because it was like we were homeless for a week because we had to get out of the house we were living in, but we had money, but we couldn't find a house we could go to in LA. So we all ended up living in a shoe store. We had a friend that owns a shoe store, and she did designer shoes. Okay.
Kendra
I'm in
Glover, thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you.
Yes, wherever you are.
Right. So Kendra had the shoe store in Venice Boulevard.
Mhm.
So the store was open during the day, but at night it wasn't. So we were able to go at night, and we stayed in her store. And so she had a sink and stuff, so we were able to wash up and what have you. And we
So we had to
slept
sleep on the floor.
on a concrete floor, and that was just really
Lord.
crazy. But we had to
So
be out
I'm
in the
jacked
day.
up now.
Right. We had to be out during the day because she had clients and what have you. So Indy, I think, was working, and Kamali and I had to find places. We went to the library, we went all around the city, and oh my God, Stephanie was working. It was so crazy during, that time. I felt bad about it, but from the experience, it lets me understand about what happens and people get into those situations. So when I got a job at the Y and I was a coach, it made me understand how women get into those situations and how to help women get out of those situations as well. Because I think it was only a week that we were there, but we had a friend to invite us over to take a shower at her house. And I could not believe after a whole week how dirty someone could be, just not being able to shower, even though we washed up and what have you. So it really gave me a real in-depth experience on how, and I think a lot of times we have these experiences, and because there's something that's going to come along later, you're going to be able to pull back from that experience. So how was that experience for you all to be homeless for that week or so?
It made me go ahead. Go ahead, India. Oh, it made me appreciate a home for sure. It made me have more understanding and empathy for people who are on the streets. Even though we were in that shoe shop for just a week, it felt like months we were in there, and it was only a week. It was the longest week I think I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, even though I may not have shown it, I was embarrassed. I was upset. I'm your mom. I should be able to take care of the two of you. I felt like I was a disappointment as a daughter, that I wasn't even to help or assist my mom in anything. So it was humbling for sure. And it made me think about a lot of things and appreciate the fact that I did have my family with me. But yeah, it was rough. So when I got into the school system and listening to some of the moms and some of the stuff they were going through, I could totally relate. I could understand. I had no problem understanding where they were coming from or what the heck was going on or what even the kids were going through. Because it's, even though you don't tell that, that's a personal thing. It was like, yeah, I've been there. I get it. I get you're not sure where your next meal is from. I get you're not sure what's going to happen when you leave out of the school and what happens when you get to where your home is supposed to be. I get that, you can't say certain things to people for fear of someone taking you away if they find out you living in a damn shoe shop. I mean, I appreciate Kendra so much for that. She's a great person. Wherever you are, Kendra, I know you're in Texas and married now. I'm happy for you, and I always wish blessings upon you, because that was a big help for us during that time. That 1 week felt like months.
Yep.
And you're right. When we took a shower, I could not believe how black the water was, and that was just from 1 week, and we were still washing up and using a sink and stuff. I don't know about you girls, but when I went in the shower, I was just like appalled.
Yeah.
So,
how was that for you all?
Honestly, it didn't really even click back then that we were homeless. I was just like, yeah, shoe shop.
Oh no, I was very much so aware, because I was in summer school at the time, so I had to be careful what I said. She's right, because like you got everybody on, you got the whole school staff there really, so I gotta watch what I say on what I do when I get home, where I'm going, how I'm getting there. So it didn't bother me that we were staying there.
Right.
It put a little stress on me because I just had to watch myself in terms of what I said. And that was the only thing that made me really realize it, honestly, and like remember it outside of the stories and us laughing and all the ignorant stuff that's come from it and the inside jokes and all of that. But that's the only thing that's really made it stay in my mind in terms of what happened outside of our jokes.
Right. And it's interesting because we had this beautiful house that we lived in, and then I lost my job, and so the rent was like almost $3,000. So it was just Stephanie working, and so it was just we weren't able to really keep up, and so we had some money stashed away, but we couldn't find an apartment in LA, for us, and so we finally did find someone. Knew someone that got a place and got this apartment.
Ooh, that's another story.
Worse than
I'm thinking the shoe shop was probably better
than the apartment we had. But
at least then I just went from the door to the bus stop. That way I had to hike my way up the hill.
I know we talked about that yesterday. That hill we had to hike up and down to get you all to and from the school bus and the public transportation to get to school. It was down on Boulevard.
Right. So then we moved to a place that India had to take this bus to school bus, but it was up this hill, and then Kamali had to also take a bus to school. So you couldn't be at both of them at the same time. So I would take India to stop because it was early in the morning and we didn't want her out there early. And it's dark, and then Stephanie had to take Kamali to the regular bus to take her to school. So we're up at early in the morning taking these kids down and up and down these hills because they have certain hills in LA. And then we had to come back up these hills back. And then the place we lived, they had no stove and no refrigerator, which means that we had to buy our food every day.
Every day.
Every day. And the thing about it was the Mexicans, this is what I think about Mexicans, they have their own stores where they have butchers and different things. And so we were able to go there every day and buy bread and cheese and little things that didn't require a refrigerator. And I remember going there one day and I didn't have enough money. I didn't take enough money. And I told the guy, oh, I don't have enough money. He says, oh, no worry, no worry. You come here all the time. Just go ahead. You give it to me next time. And so I really appreciated him. And that's community. And we talk about different people in communities, how they understand who you are. And so they were able to give me, and it was only, I don't know, so 50 cents, whatever. He's like, just wait, next time. And so Kamali and I would go, I think she would come home early and we would go and get our food, So for that, we had most bread and cheese. And we were all just clogged up or whatever, with all that bread and cheese because we're vegetarian. So that was just really crazy.
Going up and down that hill.
Oh, that hill was a mud.
Right. It was crazy. So, but it also taught me once again about community, about and what was interesting next door to us was a lot of Mexican families, and every Sunday they would all come together and pool all their food and have this long tray. And we would look out the window of all this tray of all this food, and they would all share in it. And you had a parking lot behind us, and it was just real crazy. But no one cussed each other out. No one did anything. All they did when they got ready to go in the morning, say beep beep, and people would come down, move their cars, go back upstairs. Beep, beep. It was never, you blocking my spot. It was none of that. They all worked together. So it really gave me a sense of how other cultures really get together and support each other and work with each other. So it gave me that was a great experience. It was an adventure. Seems like we always have adventures and experiences together. Taught the girls a lot. So when this Corona thing came and you had to stay inside, I was like, that ain't no big deal. We were in a place where we had to stay inside and couldn't go out or whatever. And so I'm just meditate or do whatever. And so I think the experiences that you have kind of lead you up to when you have these other experiences, like, because one of the things, we didn't talk about was the fact that when I lived in North Carolina, we lived in a house that was being built, and we didn't have indoor plumbing, outdoor plumbing. We didn't have electricity. And so we had to learn how to live outside and dig ditches and have buckets and all those kind of things.
She's putting all the business out there.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody know now. So there we go.
Well, the reason I'm doing it is I want people to know that a lot of times you see people and you think that there's one thing going on and you really don't know what's going on.
Certain things in that sentence they did not need to know.
No, here's the thing. The whole premise of living without a toilet would have been fine, Kamali, if you had stuck to the rules of the bucket, which you never did.
There she goes, putting the business out.
It was important that you stick to the bucket rules, but you never did that.
Right. One bucket was for one thing and one bucket was for another. But Kamali just took the bucket and did whatever.
And then she would just be like, I had to go.
Right. So that was an experience too about the buckets and living in a tent and outside and all that while the house was being built. You guys came, you were living in the house, which still was trying to be built, so anyway. But somebody just asked the question, how do you deal with, you disagree with your conflict? And I don't know, do we have conflict?
I mean, of course I had conflict with the girls because I'm their mom, but in reality, my thing was just like, I was always like, go think about it, go somewhere, preferably out of my face, I don't have to hurt you. But you know what, I think with raising India and Kamali, and I'm hoping this was my take on it. I tried to do it like you did me, Mom. I didn't really try to spank or anything. I tried to have conversations with them. Now they would probably say, you never listened anyway. But I tried to have conversations and let them have, don't shake your head, let them have their say.
Man.
I mean, there were some kids who were really, getting torn into, and I didn't want to be that mom. I think I spanked you one time, India. You cried, and so did I. So that was the last time I ever spanked you.
In green letters on the white wall incident?
You said what?
Green letters on the white wall.
Oh, I had a green letter on the white wall incident too, but Muti never found out about mine. I'd scrub mine off before she ever saw it. Yeah, that's one secret that just got told.
The same thing you did. You ain't right.
I mean, it's just like if you burn a hole in the carpet, you better get you a cutout carpet from Home Depot. Replace it. They'll never know.
I think with our kids, we just what these people do get pissed off, so that people know.
Oh, yeah.
People, well, we always had rooms, so everybody had their own room. So people just go in their room and go in there and cool off, or maybe you come back later and say, "I don't think you understood me," or I think we allow them to have those conversations about that. But the final rule was whatever the mother said it was going to be, but we allow people to have that conversation. So I think my father was like that. He didn't like to, he wasn't hitting or anything, but he would have conversations as well. But the final rule was whatever they said. But a lot of times you could convince them. So it's like, okay, convince them. And so sometimes you could convince them, and then you'd be like, okay, I'm going to trust you on this. But if you don't buy by whatever we decide, then I won't trust you again. And my thing was big on trusting. So Stephanie, when your mother was coming up, she was always where she said she was going to be and came back when she was supposed to be. Now, if she didn't and she wasn't, I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. But most of the time, she was where she was supposed to be and came back on time. So I think
that falls in line with the trust. You have to trust the person, to do what they say they're going to do. And my grandfather was always like, all you have is your word. If I can't trust you on your word, I can't trust anything. And that was what I tried to instill in the girls. So anytime they told me anything, I trusted that they were doing what they said they were going to do. And it was always that way. So I didn't have that issue as well. It's just like speak upon the truth and say what you're going to actually do, or do what you're actually going to say. So I just didn't have any issue. And thank you, India and Kamali, for that. I appreciate it, because there's some kids that are way out there. I didn't have really any issues with guys whatsoever. I know for a fact, Kamali always told me she used to look at India as an example of what not to do. So it was a lot that Kamali never did, because she saw what happened with India for the slightest infraction.
Oh, this is a picture of my mother and her brother. So that's a picture of my mother and her brother. Back in the day, back in the 30s, they took the picture in the 30s. So that was the picture of, and that's a picture of me and my mom when I was a baby. I was like a year old. No hair at all.
That looks like Kamali's, same little head shape.
Yeah. And that's my first birthday party. And it's my cousin Toby next to me. Yeah, we had a nice little party. Yeah. And that's Stephanie. So that was Stephanie. Yeah, that was her. And then that's Steph when she was, I thought that was so cute. She must have been about, Stephanie was tall, so she probably was about 2 at that age. She was very tall. Very tall.
I always had to carry my birth certificate to prove my age.
Yeah, very tall. And that's Steph and I back in North Carolina at that time. Yeah, that was our North Carolina experience. And that's all of us in North Carolina. Yeah.
8.
What do you guys? I think about 7 and 8.
Probably.
Somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cute.
That's when you guys are little. See, there's India's. My mom's head. Kamali, little lemon head. I think Kamali, she wasn't even 1 yet. So India had to be like 1.5, almost 2, maybe 2.
Kamali and the cat. I don't know.
Is that blue?
That was.
That's blue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, blue.
That's blue. Oh, you went right with which is blue.
It is. It's blue.
Yeah.
That's India at Disneyland.
Disneyland.
At the Lion King parade.
Yeah, she fell asleep with more adults than was children that were at the Lion King.
That's Kamali as a baby. And she had a corn cob.
As per usual.
Mhm. Oh, India's cheerleading days.
One of
Yeah, one of her cheerleading days. That's when she was in California in the cheerleader.
That was what, freshman year?
Yeah, and that's North Carolina too.
Mhm.
So we had a great time in North Carolina. I think we did. We
It was definitely child friendly. I think you guys learned a lot of stuff there. You were doing stuff that I didn't even realize you were doing. Because what? Baba taught you, well, he took you to bowling, to gymnastics,
Chinese
roller
gymnastics,
skating.
roller skating, delivering phone books.
right.
Forgot about that one.
Chinese checkers.
You got to drive down there.
Oh yeah, we rode in the back of a truck on the highway.
Yeah, they got to drive. They got to drive a truck. They got
would have never approved of.
yeah, because
Oh yeah, but I mean, it was it was North Carolina and went a lot in terms of like big city stuff. So it was cool.
and then I had sisters down there, Jamila and Beverly and Emily, because I didn't do well with the girls' hair. So I would have to
No.
I'm young, and so I would go by, their houses. You drive in, and people would be like, "What is wrong with the children's hair?"
Oh my God. I
Man.
came to pick my children up and they had moo and puffy twists. I was like, what is happening here?
It was bad.
I was like, why they look like two old ladies sitting me at the airport?
Yeah, so sisters used to help me do their hair, and everywhere I go, they'd be like, "Oh, they would do their hair." Or they bring somebody's girlfriend in to do their hair or something. So I do appreciate Jamila, Beverly, Emily, Pam,
And Yusuf's girlfriend at the
Yes.
time.
So I think you guys. I hope you feel like we had a great childhood. I hope you feel like we had some great experiences because we traveled from Chicago to North Carolina to LA to Chicago to LA to Chicago.
Oh yeah, like the U-Haul that was broken.
Oh God, the U-Haul.
So yes, we traveled across the country with the girls, and I really want to thank you all. When we were going to move, you guys were kind of like, okay. It was never like you would fall out or freak out with everything. And I'm sure sometimes you were sad, but we had to do what we needed to do at that particular time. I think also you all got a chance to learn about community because Black Women for Wellness taught you a lot about how to run organizations. I think you worked with Sharon Blackburn, taught you about, you guys were out there presenting. You were young girls, 12 or so, advocating for Sharon Blackburn for youth within the community in Los Angeles. You got awards from the mayor in Los Angeles for the community work that you did. You also worked with the marketplace. I mean, India's been working since she was like she must have been like 5 or 6. She would go to people and she was trying to get a job, and she told the people at the marketplace, they said, "You can't, I hire a little girl, you're a little kid." And India said, "Well, don't you have to go to the bathroom? Who's going to watch your products?" And then they were like, "Well, you're right." India was out there watching people's products at the marketplace, the farmer's market, while people were going to the bathroom. And she started selling the products, and they were like, "This girl can sell." So she got to selling, products, the whole time. So I think us giving you the freedom and allowing you to have those experiences. Look at you now. Now, Indy can sell all kinds of stuff. She's a manager. She got her own little parking space with a name on it and all that stuff. But that comes from, and I'm telling women out there and young women out there, if you have a child and you can see that they are moving in a certain direction, support whatever it is that that you think that they need to allow them to move forward. So what are your takeaways? What do you want people to, what does it say? What are your takeaways from your time together? What are your takeaways you want to have?
You say my time together like
what are your takeaways from your experience? We've had a lot of adventures and journeys, and we've traveled, and doing all kinds of things. So we're going to be traveling out the country this year, but COVID stopped us from going out of the country to Europe. So what are some of the takeaways you want to talk to people that live in a multi-generational household?
I mean, that's a very wide question.
Mm-hmm. Just talk about your experience. What do you want people to take away?
How did it shape you?
Yeah.
How did it make you here, India?
It's made me the smart mouth, hopping in and out of conversation, kind of street smart woman that I am. The reason that I'm able to, kind of adapt to situations the way that I can and not necessarily make such a big fuss out of it is because I've had to, we've lived somewhere for 4 months. All right, we're moving to LA now. Okay. We're in LA for 3 years. Okay, we're moving back to Chicago. Okay. So these are things that I've had to deal with. So you going, okay, used to be a manager, we're going to have you go back to being an agent for a minute. Isn't such a big deal when I'm staying in the same state that I've been in. My house stays the same. My pay stays the same. That's fine. It makes me more adaptable to things where as somebody else may necessarily, I ain't gonna say it doesn't hurt my pride because I can be very prideful sometimes and things like that do hurt my pride. But it makes it easier. It's not as a hard pill to swallow as it may be for somebody else for me. Just because I say I'm my mother's child because, it starts to twitch and I'm like, I think I might need to move somewhere. I don't think this is quite working for me anymore. Like, you all didn't anticipate me to move down here and stay in Florida when I came down for school. I'm sure you all thought eventually I'd be back and maybe from there I would go somewhere else. But that's not quite how it worked out.
Okay, so Kamali, how does it shape you?
I guess I just go with the flow, We say we're going somewhere. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, Kamali was always like that. Like, all right, yeah. Pack up. When do I need to pack? Okay, when? Okay, how much I'm taking? Okay. Yeah. Stephanie.
I would say the same thing. It just makes it easy to transition into anything. I never like people ask you to do stuff. You're like, okay, not a problem. I can go ahead and do that. I can move to this next section to do something else. It also makes you have, I think, a thicker skin for certain things. Things don't really small trivial stuff does not bother you, especially with, some things that we have gone through and experienced and some stuff that's happened with us. Is just kind of like, you know what, dude, it's fine. Whatever. Let's just do what we got to do to make this happen the way it's supposed to happen. So, and I think collectivism is a good thing too, because we all work collectively together for a lot of stuff. So we don't have any problems working with anybody as well. Anybody, and I do mean anybody, whether it's someone in the family or, whatever's going on. We take time with, I think I take time with other people because, everybody in the family takes time with one another. So it just makes you, and what I wanted to make the girls, a well-rounded person, so that anybody that comes into your circle, there's no issue whatsoever, and you can spot BS real quick too.
Yeah, we can. And I think, I feel very sad for some people that say, oh my God, my family's coming or my this or that. We've never had that issue in our family. I think even in our extended family with your uncles as well, I think we're all supportive of each other. If somebody needs something, India was going to college, everybody's like, all right, we got to pony up. She going to school. I mean, they made sure that somebody's like, she got to have, like my brother who's tech, you got to make sure she got a TV. And of course, he wanted you to have flat screen that was big as whatever. It's like, no, she's in the dorm. The other brother came down to college. He wanted to paint the whole. You can't paint it.
I know he wanted to redecorate your dorm.
Yeah, we don't
Uncle Butch tried to do that.
He was like, "Can we just build some shelves or something?" Can
right?
We,
I was like, no, she's going to move out next year. It's not a condo. We're not.
Right.
We're not putting up shelves. We're not building up.
Your Uncle Michael wanted you to send he wanted to send you like a 40-inch flat TV. It's like, no, she can't have all that.
Put on the wall. It's like, no, So I think that when someone is doing something, everybody ponies up. If somebody's out of work, everybody's okay. What she need? If somebody
Didn't Nana pay for like the entrance fee or something like that?
Oh, let's not talk about that
yeah,
story.
the fee, yeah, but the fee. So whenever somebody's in a situation, we've all, but part of that comes from my father always talking about how we had to support each other. My extended family about how do we elevate each other. It's not about competition. I hate competition. I believe in being collective and working together as a collective. And I think that when you do that, and if you set that example, then your children or your grandchildren will see that, and then they would want to do the same thing about giving back to the community. I'm very proud of you all in terms of what you did in LA and in terms of giving back, and you were all out there on the street, and you were advocates, and you were out there doing all kinds of things to let people know about STDs and AIDS at that time or whatever was going on, and how you never had a problem with, doing this. Like, okay, we got to do this. Kamali sometimes be like, but when she get out there, she was doing her thing. And so I appreciate you doing that and being the women that you have grown up to be. And I know some of the experience were really crazy. Now we can look back on it, we can laugh at it, but I know in the midst of it, it was real crazy because it was crazy for us. But I appreciate you not giving us a hard time. Stephanie, the same thing when I was, raising Stephanie, never giving me a hard time, but always being there and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Let's just do it. And so I just want other people to know that you can live in a multi-generational household, but you have to respect each other. You have to respect people's privacy. Sometimes people go in the room and shut the door because that's where they want to be, and you got to do that. But sometimes we come together, we play games, we look at movies. I had a movie the other day, and I was like, God, I wish India and Kamali were here to see this movie, because this is one of the movies where we all need to look at so we can really do a review on it, because we used to do that with movies like, what is going on? So I do kind of, I miss that. But I applaud you for where you are and what you are doing and, going forward. And so I just want to tell everybody out there, you can live in this situation. More and more people are living together. It makes it easier. You're able to split some things. Like now, I'm living in a 3-generation household. So it's my mother, myself, and my brother, and then Stephanie. So it's 3 generations of us living together now. So we've always kind of had that in and out because we move and do whatever. But you can live in it. Like I said, it's about being respectful. It's about saying living up to your word. When you give your word, you gotta, and if you can't, and you gotta back down, just tell people, you know what, I thought I could do it, but I can't. So that's important to do that. So I really appreciate you all. Next week, I'm going to have Sabrina's going to be on here, and she's going to be talking about growing old gracefully, and Nefertari is going to be on here. We're going to talk about growing old gracefully. So Rolanda, I really want to thank you for being our production host. Ro does a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and we've known Ro for a long time, and she has been in some of the circles for the girls as well. So I just want to thank you for for that as well. And make sure that everybody is wearing a mask. And if you can't stay in the house, because I know Florida and Arizona, like me, it's going up. The rise in COVID is going up. So wear a mask, stay in the house. And India, Kamali, and Steph, stay on because we're getting ready to close out the show. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Somebody's got something in the background playing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Just stay there. Just stay there. It's gonna come back on.